Hey there, welcome to another video on the channel. I am super excited about this one that you are about to watch. I have a very special guest, Mr. Caden Jara. Caden shares his experience in building a sales agency, so he helps companies close their sales. And just as a young entrepreneur at 19 years old, he's not 19 now, but when he did this, he took his agency, he took his business to over 6 figures a year in profit. So this is a very great interview, a lot of substance in it. This initially, by the way, was a part of a paid product that people had to pay to get access to this interview, among other things. And I decided, you know what, let's release it to the people. The people need to hear this message. They need to hear what Caden has to say. So that being said, make sure you watch the video all the way through. Unless you're making more than Caden, I highly recommend listening to Caden. Even if you are making more than him, listen to him. He's a really smart guy for his age. Big inspiration to me, a big inspiration to, I know, a lot of people. So that being said, before I let you guys watch this video, again, it's pre-recorded because it was a part of the paid product earlier, but before you watch the video, I just want to say this channel is the best place for you to learn about business. We talk about politics and we talk about current events, but a lot of important topics that you're not going to hear anywhere else. You're not going to hear it on mainstream media, obviously. This channel is here to help you and help you make more money, help you succeed in business, sales, and navigate through day-to-day life. So that being said, if you enjoy the video, make sure you like it. It does a lot in terms of boosting the algorithm. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We are this close to hitting 50 subscribers. We're currently at 40 subscribers. The goal was 50 by the end of last week, and we missed the goal. So we've got to hit 50 this week. And so that being said, like the video, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think. Did you like it? Did you not like it? And then last thing I'm just going to ask you to do, because I don't pay to promote this YouTube channel, the only way this YouTube channel is going to grow is through word of mouth. So if you enjoy the video, if you get value out of the video, share it with someone, share it with everyone, because it can help anyone. And that's why I highly recommend, again, you watch the video all the way through, because he dives in with a lot of great stuff. So I'll get off my soapbox here and enjoy this interview with the very special guest, Mr. Caden Jara. Here we go. All right, guys. So this is the bonus portion of the Salesman's Goldmine. I'm super excited. I've got Caden Jara here with me. Caden, he started, I think he just told me a year and a half ago, he built a sales agency from scratch, took it up to 6 figures. Now he's teaching others to do the same. He's got Closers University, and he's also got his own modules included in Internet U, which I went through with Andy Kavanaugh. Now, kind of tell us your story, kind of where you were at when you started your agency, and kind of what motivated you to start it and get going.
Yeah, so basically my story, it's kind of funny. I went to high school with like a multiple 7-figure dropshipper, at least revenue-wise. And I won't name, or I guess I'll name his name, Sebastian Giorgio, if anybody knows who that is. He's a pretty big YouTube like personal brand, and this kid bought a Nissan GTR straight out of high school, like 2 months after. And I was working a pizza job at the time, and he pulls up in his GTR. And I'm like, I have to be like that kid. Like, what does he do? Like, and I knew it wasn't dad's money because I knew of his situation prior and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, what the hell is he doing, man? Is he like doing something legal? Is it like illegal? Like, what is it? So I saw a tweet actually about a week later, and he was like, yo, what's up, guys? I'm doing a giveaway for my course. And I was like, what is a course? Like, what is that? And so I looked into it more.
You just kind of stumbled in it a little bit because you followed him.
Fell into
it. He went to your school.
Yeah, he went to my school. He wasn't like a buddy. I had him in a class of mine and stuff. He was 2 years older than me, so it was like an elective. But yeah, I saw that, and I look into his profile, and he's like e-commerce, like Shopify, dropshipping, whatever. And so I started watching his YouTube videos like crazy. And I tried to get into dropshipping myself. I was literally like, I probably had all of $15 in my bank account at one point, like just trying to like run ads. It did not work at all. So that was like 2 months I tried dropshipping. didn't work. I made 2 sales. Both were severely unprofitable. So I had to kind of restructure. And that's actually when I found like Andy, Nate Schmidt, all of these guys on like this side of Twitter. And basically just started soaking up their content because their model was free. It was free to start. Signing clients and developing high income skills is free. You didn't have to like invest into ads or any of that. It's just like you just close people and you reach out to people, right? So I got into that and I did that for about 3 months, 3 to 4 months with 0 results, like 0 replies even. And it just got to a point where it was almost demoralizing. Like my parents were like, dude, what are you doing? Like you're coming home, you're working every single night, you're waking up before school in the morning to work, nothing's happening. Same with my girlfriend. She's like, what are you doing? Like you're wasting your time. I'm like, I feel like I'm not wasting my time. Like there's something here, like I want this. And so it was actually funny. February 4th, I remember this. January 4th, not February 4th, January 4th, 2019 was the day that I told myself, I was like, all right, by my birthday was yesterday actually, so April 9th. I told myself by my birthday, if I can't get a client, I'm quitting. I'm done. I'm dropping out of this. Like clearly this life is not for me if I cannot make it happen in 4 months. So I gave myself that like time period. The next day I signed my first client, like literally the next day. So I think that was like the world showing me like, all right, like tested you a little bit, like you're good to go. So I wasn't even reaching out for clients for sales at the time. I was so desperate that I was offering personal assistant services to these people. It was really embarrassing. Like I was like, I'll literally be your assistant, like whatever you need. Like just
So you were essentially doing like, oh, not even freelancing. Like you were going to be their assistant, like hourly.
Exactly. Just some sort of remote work. That's what I was looking for. I got that desperate. I went from like freelance copywriter to that. So I had a guy message me back with like a large personal brand. And he was like, do you do sales? I didn't know shit about sales, dude. I didn't know a single thing about closing a deal, about prospecting, about nothing, like zero, zilch. And I was like, of course I know sales. Of course. Like, of course I do it. He's like, all right, let's get on the phone. And so we get on the phone and this guy basically closes himself for me. He's like, how much time do you have to put into this? So I was like, dude, I can give you all day. He's like, all right, I'm thinking the retainer will be $500 and I'll give you like 25%. I was like, all right, cool. Like he closed himself, named the term. So I was like, dude, totally fine with me. And then he paid me via Venmo right on the spot. So that was like my first client. I was stoked. And so like things went good. Like our first month we did good, but 5 days after I signed that first one, I signed the second one. So I had 2 sales clients, and those are the ones I rolled with, like, you know, long term for the first like the next probably 4 or 5, I'd say 4 months, up until like late April. And then April comes along, and I'm sitting around like, I'd say like 4 to 6K a month, and it was nice, dude. Like in high school, I was balling. Like nobody had, like I had some money, like compared to kids my age.
What grade were you in at this point?
I was a senior. I was a senior in high school. So I'm going into graduation. I got some money in the bank. I'm feeling good about myself. I'm making like decent money, you know, like nine to five money. And it was fun, dude. I loved it. And then I realized like, all right, I'm staying stagnant here. Like if a client is dissatisfied, I get anxious because I only have 2 of them. So if I lose one of them, I'm screwed. I'm starting to feel like that. And that wasn't a good feeling. So I was like, I need to get more of these people, and I need to sort of build a company out of this rather than just be like some glorified freelancer.
Sure.
So actually, Andy and I teamed up at first, and he brought a couple clients to the table. I brought a couple clients to the table, and we were just closing deals, like just him and I, like and just kind of being glorified freelancers just at a higher level, you know, with some sales clients, and that was great for like a month. We ran with that. Closing more deals, stuff like that. But then it got to a point where like Andy wanted to focus on his own thing. I wanted to focus on my own thing in terms of like what type of business we truly wanted to build. I wanted to go like sales route, like strictly, and he wanted to go like, you know, like email marketing and stuff like that, that sort of agency. So we didn't split up. Like him and I are literally best friends now, and then I owe all my success to him. But we just kind of split up the sales agency, like stopped doing it. And so that's when I started building things out on my own. I took my 2 clients, did some outreach within like, I'd say like a week and a half, 2 weeks, signed 2 more clients. That was 4 total. And then 4 clients, I was doing that all on my own. So it was just like, it was hard. Like, it was a lot of tough work. So I brought on my first appointment setter. Because the clients I have, I'm in their DMs. And so, or I was in their DMs. So now I have an appointment setter that schedules calls out of their DMs for me. And so I was closing deals. And since then we have about 7 total clients right now. And I have 2 full-time appointment setters pretty much. They're super cheap. Like, you know, they're from another country, and they do just as good of a job as an American would. And, you know, I can pay them very, very well for their country. So it's
Yeah.
awesome. And then I have two other closers that work with me as well. And they help me take on the, you know, call influx and stuff like that. So things have gone well. We're really, really doing some big numbers for some clients and stuff like that. So it's been fun, and just scaling up the operations side of things when it comes to that.
Yeah. A couple things that you notice there's a lot of parallels with your story and pretty much kind of your typical entrepreneur's story. You started out with drop shipping or e-commerce or whatever it was. You failed at that. I personally, before I got into what I did with Cutco and everything, I ran Amazon FBA, and me and a buddy from Chipotle bought like this $500 course. We teamed up. I used to roll burritos. And we put like $4,000 into the thing, and it was just like it was our grad party money. We had $2,000 in the bank. We both put it in.
Yeah.
And then like the product was cornhole LED lights.
Okay.
And so like when you play cornhole outside, you put a light around it, and we didn't think about how seasonal that product would be. We also had like random manufacturers in China trying to like sue us.
Wow.
Like it was
So
just
the whole spiel.
and then like I also with Twitter back like a few years ago when Twitter was like I don't know if you remember this, there were like more like parody accounts, more like influencers that way. I poured like a ton of money into a like $2,000 again into a Twitter account, promoting the hell out of it. It was getting like 400 likes a tweet. I was ready to monetize it at like 100K. I was at like 25 like fresh organic followers, and then it got hacked. And then
Shit, dude.
Yeah, and then I kept DMing.
Crazy.
I kept I kept emailing support. I was like, these are screenshots of me in this account. This is the old password. All this stuff. Like, let me back in. They're like, we don't have proof that it was yours.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, to tie it back to what you were talking about, it's interesting how, you know, a lot of people after one of those things with what you went through with 3 months of nothing with e-commerce, or your few months of outreach with getting nothing, a lot of people would just quit. I think that's a huge factor, is kind of the perseverance with that.
Yeah, man.
So you sign your first client, you know nothing about sales. So, you know, what people don't realize, I think, enough about kind of the sales agency model is that the reason you're making money is because you're providing serious value to these businesses in the purest form possible. You're increasing their bottom line, right? So obviously they didn't know what to do with their sales. They reached out to you. You knew nothing about sales. Where did you go from there?
Dude, so Jordan Belfort and the Wolf of Wall Street. That's where I started. I was like, what do I know about sales? Who do I know that does sales? So Wolf of Wall Street, right? That whole movie, it's based off of Jordan Belfort. It was like the king of sales. I mean, even though he did it very, very, very unethically, he was still very good. So I look into this guy, I started watching his YouTube videos, stuff like that. And that's how I got started. I subscribed to, because I was making $500 a month now with that client. I thought I was rich, dude. So I subscribed to his subscription service. It's like the Wolf's like Den or the Wolves, like whatever sales training he has. And I was just watching like 5 videos a day and just taking notes on them and like rehearsing and stuff like that. And it was like each and every day I was getting better and better at what I was doing. It was sick. And so that first month, like the first week, 0 sales, was looking really rough. Like I was like, this is bad. This is really bad. Like I can't close. I can't sell. Like this is really, really bad. And then all of a sudden one hits, like I got one. And at the time it was like a $300 package, like a $250, $300 package. Like the commissions were very, very minimal. I was getting about 70, I think it was $75 a close. Yeah. Or 70 bucks a close, one of the two. And so I closed one, and then I started like closing a bunch, and you know, we did 13K our first month, like, and I just got hot those like last 3 weeks.
Wow.
And so that was my commission check that month was like, it was like in the higher 3,000s. I forget, I could pull it up right here, but it was the most money I'd ever seen in my entire life. So I was like, this is sick. And then the second client that I was selling for, his was like $1,000 offer. So his is a lot harder to sell off the bat. But
Mhm.
what we did, my first client, we basically were like, all right, we're selling this $300 package like hotcakes. Let's raise the bar to like 1,500 and just go high ticket now. Like, this is sick. And let's just like add more to the offer, whatever. So that's what we started doing. And
Yeah.
so it forced me to just like go from a low ticket closer to like a mid ticket closer, because 1,500 is expensive, but it's not that hard to close, you know? And so we did that, and I had to learn how to sell that quickly, and I had to adapt that quickly. So the second month we did like, I think it was like 16 grand. And so it was like, you know, it was increasing slowly, another big commission check. And then with the second client, we did something around that too. And so, you know, I was probably doing like 4K a month after my first couple months. And then from there, my first client again was like, all right, let's increase the price even further. And let's do like a 4K offer, like a $4,000 offer. That's it. Like, that's the only spiel. That's the only thing we're going to offer here. We're going to add a little bit more. And now we're starting to get some really, really killer results. So, you know, we can leverage those to get some closes. So I was like, all right, cool. Now regularly every month with that client, we're probably doing anywhere from like 35 to, I'd say, $50,000 in total sales.
Wow.
And that's kind of how it all started. So it
Yeah.
literally, I just threw myself into it, watched some Jordan Belfort. You know, I watched a lot of his videos. I read this book actually right here, Way of the Wolf.
Yep.
And that's, I feel like every salesman ever has read that book.
Yeah.
But that, you know, I adopted like the straight line system and added my, you know, like little twist, my own little things to it. And that's pretty much what got me here, man. So
Yeah, man. I think it's interesting that I look back on my career, and I think that there's been a big element, you know, even though there are the failures at the start, there's also a little element of beginner's luck
yeah,
where I think confidence is so key. And at the start, you don't really have any confidence because
yeah,
you haven't done anything, right? And I remember just like at the start when I first opened up my office, I didn't know what I was doing. We were just having fun and like working hard, and we blew a ton of people out of the water. You know, what I guess, do you think that that had a role in building your initial confidence? And then from there, was there a time later in your career when you realized like, oh shit, like I kind of got lucky there. Like I was kind of just like super excited. I got lucky. Now
oh
I
yeah,
need like some certain systems in place.
yeah, yeah. So that the time that hit was like June, I want to say. It was like May, late May, like right after I graduated high school, late May, early June. I was like, all right, this is cool, but I'm working like 12 hours a day, and this is starting to kind of suck, you know?
Yeah.
It's so, because I was spending my day like, I was, you know, basically taking, because, you know, what we do is we're not just like, some clients will just, you know, just have people book a phone call straight with us. But other clients, it's like a full service sort of thing. We're in their DMs, right?
Right.
And so I was in the DMs, like I'm funneling these people throughout a conversation, getting them engaged, kind of pre-qualifying, and then scheduling a phone call with them. That's a lot. Like, it really
Yeah.
was a lot. So I was like, I have to hire, like I have to bring on somebody, you know? So that's when I brought on the appointment setter. And that was when things got really legitimate. But before, dude, I hit like a point. I remember it was one night I was like, I can't do this anymore. And so I decided to hire. I just had to outsource a little bit, bring somebody onto my team. And it honestly was a great decision, because I was very close to like that burnout point. And
Yeah.
that would have sucked if I stopped there.
Yeah. I've noticed with myself personally, and I've heard a guy who coaches with some of the Cutco people in finances and
Yeah.
financial management. His name's Adam Stock. He profits like $1 million a year in this company, Rising Stock, and
Wow.
he talks about the concept of booby trap yourself for success, meaning like set the accountability systems, like and like social accountability. Like, so he's like, if I want to go to the gym more, I'm going to set a contest in my office, encourage everyone to go to the gym more, and like say, hey, we're tracking which days did you go to the gym? Because how are you going to put this kind of stuff on and show up and people are outperforming you?
Yeah.
And with me personally, you know, I find it hard to wake up at 6 a.m. And get grinding, right? Or even show up at the office at like 9
Yeah.
a.m., right? But then when I bring staff along with it, I feel like it kind of adds that extra layer of accountability. Is that the same with
Definitely.
you?
Definitely. Definitely. It's like when you're on your own, there's nobody there to hold you accountable. There's nobody there to be like, dude, wake up, you lazy ass. You've been sleeping
Right.
for 9.5 hours. Like, you're
Right.
rested. Get up and work. It's like, now I'm tired. I'm going to go back to bed. Like, there's nobody there to say that. or there's nobody to say, you know, maybe you should do some more outreach today, right? Or maybe you should do some more prospecting, right? Maybe you should get a couple more calls, but you know, there's nobody to say that at all. And so it's tough. Like you really do. I always tell people this, like you need, when you're starting with like entrepreneurship or anything like that, like your why, the reasoning for you wanting to start it has to be powerful. Like it can't just be the want for like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. Because honestly, there's so many roadblocks in entrepreneurship. Once you hit one, the want for a Ferrari isn't going to push you through that roadblock. You're just going to go look for another business model that, you know, can maybe get you that Ferrari easier. Right. So I think that is so powerful. And so I had a powerful why, luckily, you know, for my upbringing and why I wanted to do this. So that's what pushed me through those times, and it allowed me to really hold myself accountable. And if I didn't have that, I honestly probably would have given up. So, you know, anybody who's watching this, I would just definitely recommend, like, don't do this for like a Gucci belt or because you want to show off to your friends or anything like that. That's not going to push you through any roadblocks that come along, and you're going to face them. Like they're inevitable. Reach down to like a genuine reason, something that you feel deep down as to why you truly want to find success, and then use that as like your motivation. Write it down every day and just like literally just tell yourself, I need to do this every single day, and this is what's going to get me there, and then follow that process day in, day out, and you will get there. But it's tough when you're alone, man. It's definitely tough.
Yeah, man, for sure. So I actually had the chance to meet the president of Cutco,
Wow.
the president and the CEO, but in this case it was the
Yeah.
CEO. And it's
Wow.
like a $200 million company. And I was like, shit, I'm here with like a CEO of a $200 million company. Like, I'm an idiot. I don't have any like good questions to ask him, right? So one of the questions I asked him though was like, what's your favorite book? And he said, favorite book is Start with Why. He's like, once you've got the why down, everything else gets figured out.
Exactly.
So yeah, and something for people who are watching, maybe to help you find your why if you don't know it. You know, a good exercise is just keep asking why at your why, right? So
Yeah.
like, why do you want to do? Oh, I want to get this car. Okay, why do you want the car, right? And maybe take it like 7 layers deep with that to really like
Yeah.
peel the layers. But you said you had a really strong why. What was your why?
So, I mean, I'm not like, I don't have the typical, like some of these people that I talk to have straight sob stories. Like
Yeah.
they lost a family member or they were just dirt poor, homeless, right? Like that's not me. You know, like my upbringing was good, but I went through a lot of stuff that people should not have gone through, that a kid should not have gone through, like with,
Mhm.
you know, a really, really bad divorce between my parents. And by
Yeah.
bad, like police involved multiple occasions, like violence on multiple occasions, me being in the center of it just because I was the only kid, or I
Yeah.
was the oldest kid. So I had to, you know, grow up a lot quicker than most. Stuff like that, stuff like very, very bad money issues with my parents. The market crash in '08 really affected my dad. And so I got to see what true financial stress looked like, and this, you know,
Mhm.
the outcome it can have on your life. And so, you know, just things like that, like those are really what I remember nowadays. I remember the feeling. I still remember that feeling of like, you know, heading home from like a baseball game, right? And
Mhm.
you can't afford to pick up some food on the way home, and you don't got much food at home, so you're gonna have, you know, noodles with some butter and then some bread and bread and butter. That was like my mom's signature
Yeah.
after every game, you know. And so I didn't live in poverty necessarily, you know, but I grew up in a good community, but I was like, I guess you could say I was the broke kid of like the middle class, you
Yeah.
know. And so that really, I saw my friends, they were certain, you know, a lot of my friends had like wealthy parents, you know, parents with money, drive a Range Rover, or even just have like a newer like Honda, like something nice, you know. And I never had that. I didn't. It was just always, you know, getting by, just barely getting over that hump that, you know, just got you by basically. And so I guess I just got tired of living like that, you know. And
Yeah.
so I was working on my pizza job, and it got to a point, dude, where like my car insurance was $100 a month. I drove an older BMW, so it was $100 a month. My gas was like 100 to 150, the gas guzzler. And I had a girlfriend. I had, you know, like if a birthday came up, I was never able to buy somebody something nice. It was like if I had $8, I'm gonna go get him something for $8, you know. And there
Mhm.
was a time when I remember this specific number. I was negative $132 in my bank account,
Wow.
negative $132, and
Yeah.
so that was like my turning point. It was like my entire life built up to that point, and it was just like it was just like not having money, not being able to do things that I want, not being able to, even at the very least go buy a coffee if I wanted one, right? Just little stuff like that just built up for so long.
Yeah.
And one day I just snapped and I was like, screw it, I'm going all in. Like I have nothing to lose at this point. I'm going all in. And so the debt I was accruing instead wasn't on my car. I wasn't driving places. I was having, like, if I had work, I'd have my parents take me or something like that, or a buddy take me, whatever. And the debt that I was accruing was in courses and programs and stuff like that to educate myself on this online business stuff.
Yeah.
And, that I think was the real turning point. And so that's kind of what like powered me, was just the life buildup I had up until that time where I just snapped,
Yeah.
of, going through some stuff, some bad situations, never really having money when I, just enough to get by, you know what I mean? I was just tired of that. So that's really why, what pushed me to get to where I am today, at least. And I'm nowhere near where I'd like to be, but it's nice
Yeah.
to be able to, have the freedom to do what I want when I want it, buy what I want when I want it, and that sort of thing. So that's more so like what kind of drives me.
For sure, man. I don't think that, back then when you had negative $100 in your bank account, I don't think you'd be able to buy a cool turtle, you know.
Dude, I got two turtles. These little baby
A
water
second
turtles are the
one?
coolest thing. Yeah, so it's like they're these little like water turtle guys. And so dude, we're in quarantine right now with the coronavirus.
Right.
And I have nothing to do in here besides just like business stuff like closing deals or prospecting or doing some outreach, whatever it is, and chill with my turtles. I think they're like the coolest little things of all time. So I'm just chilling with them, man. I literally got bored one day and I was like, you know what? Like this is really boring. Like and I was looking on pictures and I saw one of like a cool turtle in the ocean. I'm like, I'm gonna find some turtles. So I got two turtles.
That's sweet. Um,
Yeah,
I wanna switch it up a little bit.
for
Um,
sure.
so when you first started, you were kind of at that point where, I mean, you were you weren't 100K in debt or whatever, but you were like, shit's got to change, right?
Yeah,
And you kind of, it sounds like you burnt all your ships. Pretty much all the money you were getting, you were spending on courses and really
yeah.
investing in yourself. What do you think? Um, eh, did you, when you started, did you have fear of rejection, fear of failure, any of that stuff when you're doing cold outreach or when you're doing calls or any of that?
I had fear of rejection. I had fear of like, getting told no and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I had no other option.
Yeah.
No other option. It was either nut up, grab your nuts and just go for it and grab the bull by the horns and just like find yourself on the other side
Yeah.
after it's all said and done, or continue living the same life and keep digging yourself like further in that hole,
Right.
And so it was like, yeah, I was definitely scared. I mean, to this day, I'm not scared of rejection anymore. I hear no's every single day. So it's just like,
Right.
man, like next kind of, that sounds really like, that sounds really arrogant. Not like next, but like I hear no a lot to the point where it doesn't affect me.
Sure.
But, at first, for sure, it was like, it was that or nothing. So it was all or nothing. So, I kind of just had to push through the nose.
Another thing that I think holds some people back in sales from my experience working with people is
There.
um, people have this icky feeling about sales. They have like they feel guilty if they're taking someone's money. Have you ever felt like a guilt about sales and is sales ethical?
I always had that bad view on it. Always had that bad view on it. It was like, ugh, it's like sleazy. Like that's the one word that came to mind when I think of like sales. It was like sleazy, And until I got in the game, sales is not that. Like it doesn't have to be that really. I'm a big like, I'm not a hard seller. I'm not gonna sit there on the phone and if I can't get somebody to fork over $2,000 because they're really just not feeling right about it, I'm not gonna make them do it. Right?
Mhm.
I'm not gonna force somebody into that, just because like if they don't even have $2,000 to spare and something happens, like, that sort of thing. I'm not a huge hard seller or anything like that.
Sure.
Sales is fun to me, and
Yeah.
I'm really big on like qualifying. Like whoever I'm talking to on the phone, whether it is a client or a prospect for a client, whatever it may be, I make sure that I qualify. I make sure that they're like a good fit for what I have to offer. And if they're a good fit, then I'll push for that. If they're not, then I'm cool and I have an abundance mindset to where we can part ways and I'm not going to think twice about it. So I think with that approach to sales, you're going to be a lot better off than like, for example, I was at a car dealership buying a car the other day and the guy like is just like these guys are as sleazy as it gets. You know, if I was ever in car sales, like that's how you know I've hit rock bottom, is if I'm ever in car sales. But these guys are so sleazy and so desperate, dude. And just trying to scam the shit out of you. And that's just not how I do it. So that was a view I had on sales before, because of seeing guys like that. But now getting into it myself, like I think it's awesome. Like I don't even refer to it as sales. I mean, you've been through, my info products now.
Yeah.
I just refer to it as connecting. Like I honestly think that's what it is, And I think it's connecting. It's connecting somebody who, wants to achieve something, wants to accomplish something. You're just connecting the two with, whatever product, whatever service that's on the table. So that's how I like to refer to it. So definitely had a bad view on it at first, but not anymore.
Yeah, man. I think that with my experience with kitchen cutlery, even like a lot of the kids who start out with Cutco, they're college kids, whatever. I don't know if you know this. Andy actually used to do it. He was telling me.
Really?
For like a few months, yeah.
That's
But
nuts.
yeah.
That's hilarious.
But a lot of these kids, they're like, I would never spend hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars on this stuff. Like, why would I do it? But like people would be so surprised when you have something of value, whether it's kitchen knives or whether it's, hey, I'm going to increase the profits in your business. Like people are going to be so excited to hear what you have to offer and hear that you have a solution to their problem that they've been having a long time. So I agree with you, man. It's just a matter of connecting people. And some people, some people aren't a good fit. Some people are. So you close the first client. I think you would probably agree with me that the first client's always the hardest, right?
Definitely. Definitely.
After you close that first client, I mean, how soon were you able to leverage testimonials or leverage like, hey, I'm working with this person? And how did you utilize getting your first client to help you get future clients?
Yeah. So honestly, my first two clients were just straight luck. Like my second client was just as lucky as the first because I had no testimonials to give them after that. Because I signed my first one on the 4th, and then or the 5th, and then I signed my second one on like the 10th. Like it was 5 days, so I had nothing to leverage at that point. I just said I'm working with this person. Like that was it. I'm like I'm working with so and so. Like all right, like if you're working with him, like you must be legit. So that's like what I leveraged there. That was all leverage I had. And then about a month later, I had closed like 13 grand, and so I was able to hit up some people, but honestly, I was really stagnant after I got those two because in all reality, that was all I needed to put food on the table, to save money, to pay off like my car or whatever it was. So by the time I was ready for new clients and I wanted new clients, I really wanted to scale things up. I had built some kick-ass results to leverage. And so easy to just go hit somebody up and be like, yo, I generated a direct competitor of yours about $38,000 last month. Like, let's talk. They're like, whoa. Like I'm doing 15, like we should talk. And it's like,
Right.
yeah, we should. So I waited a few months. I waited a little bit too long, unfortunately, to leverage that.
Cool. And can introverts succeed in sales? Were you naturally were you naturally good with people? And if someone's not naturally good with people, how can they get better at being good with people, and can they succeed in sales?
For sure. So I've always been an extroverted person. Like I was born an extrovert. I was like, and I like the life of the party, like, but like that sort of thing, like I was loud, like I would unite people, like I would just like make things happen. I was a talker, I was a class clown, like that sort of thing. I was always outgoing. So sales wasn't very hard to me. But for the introvert, the person who, hasn't really like had like social, they don't have good social skills or anything like that. I think skills can be taught, or sales can be taught to those people straight up. They just have to put on a mask when they're doing it. They have to put on a mask, somebody that even if they don't want to be it, if they're like in sales or whatever, even if they don't want to be that person, to just be able to put on a mask and turn it on. And then as soon as you're done, turn it back off and go to being an introvert, but yeah, that's tough. Like I think there's some born introverts that just truthfully can never succeed in sales because they're not comfortable coming out of that zone of theirs. But then there are some introverts. Like I have a buddy who's a cold caller, and he'll do, I'd say probably 100 calls a day, maybe even more. And he, after his cold calls, he turns off. He goes and reads. He goes and meditates, and he goes and like watches a Netflix series or something like that. It's nuts. So I think as extroverts have it a bit better, have it a bit easier because it comes natural to us, but it can be taught, in my opinion.
For sure. And um, in the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, they talk about like the key to being a great conversationalist is to find something that the other person loves and is genuinely passionate about, and that you can also be genuinely passionate about, and like get them talking about that.
Yeah.
And you could talk for 10% of the conversation, and the person's going to leave going like, that person was super, that person was a great conversationalist. They're so fun talking to. I have friends who like, I'll call on the phone, and I'm an extrovert too. I'm a rambler.
Yeah.
So, I'll talk to a guy for like 45 minutes, and it's just like me ranting out of it. And at the end of it, I'm like, man, that was a good call. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think with what you're saying with putting on a mask, maybe not necessarily like being fake, but like putting on the mask of like, I'm confident and like,
Yeah,
you
just
know,
get in the zone. It's like you can like if you have 3 hours a day dedicated to selling and doing some sort of like phone closing or whatever,
yeah,
those 3 hours just turn it on. Pound a thing of coffee before and just turn it on as hard as you can for those 3 hours, and then after, just turn it back off. Go back to what you were doing. You know, so that's definitely what I mean there.
for sure. And when you started off, did your clients have scripts for you, have systems for you?
No.
You had to come up with all that stuff on
Zero.
your own.
Zilch. I had to
Yeah,
start from ground zero.
yeah,
So that's what allowed me to get really good at appointment setting
right,
and really good at dialogue in the direct messages, because I learned straight through trial and error. There
yeah,
was no sales course, no like DM prospecting course out there. I just had to learn, and I had to adapt quickly if I wanted to like stay alive. And so stay alive in this game, not like in actual real life, but
sure.
I had to adapt quickly. And so that's what I did, man. Just straight through trial and error. After about a month, I pretty much got it down. And now I got a few tricks up my sleeve in terms of like prospecting and stuff that are pretty fun. But yeah, I started from scratch.
Yeah, man. I think when somebody is getting into sales, it's whether they're creating a script like you did, which if you're creating a script and you're studying like Jordan Belfort and all them, I mean, you're going to get pretty good pretty fast.
Definitely.
Or if you're using someone else's script, I think the reason why people do really well with sales after that is because they kind of understand why they're saying what they're saying, right?
Definitely.
So it's not necessarily memorizing like 35 different lines, although that could help,
Yeah.
right? But it's like
Yeah.
understanding, why the customer's saying what they're saying, and how you can, help them fix that problem, and why you say that.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
do you have anything to add on that?
No, I think you're right. And it's like, honestly, you get to a point kind of in your sales career where um, you just have a good, like, you can get a feel for a conversation and how it's going to go. And
Hmm.
so, like, you have like scripts for certain types of people almost. Like, that's one thing I figured out. Like, if I talk to somebody, they're not very responsive. If I ask them a question, it's like, you know, just like one word answers, or, they just seem not like shallow, but they just seem more like an introvert, actually.
Yeah,
I have like a way of going about those calls. And then I'll talk to somebody who, is super extroverted and they're super outgoing, and I crack jokes with them and stuff like that. I also have like a feel of how that call is going to go and like how I'm going to structure that call too. So that, I think that's like that's been a cool thing as far as like I've gone along, is I've been able to get a feel for like different types of people, and how conversations go. I think that's one of the gifts that I've acquired along the way.
now I want to ask a couple more questions, kind of broad paintbrush questions, help
For
people
sure.
kind of figure out, kind of put it all together a little bit, and then I want to dive in a little bit more in terms of like details on the sales appointment.
For sure.
So my first question: what habits have you had throughout your building your agency and stuff, that you think have been crucial to your success? You mentioned earlier, you write down. I mean, do you still write down what you want every day? And like, what else do you do?
So about 6 months ago, well, as far as habits go, man, like you'd be surprised. I'm not like your 5 a.m. guy. I'm not like meditation in the morning and then, write down 2 pages of goals and then go take a cold shower and chug a gallon of coffee. I'm just not that guy. Like I typically wake up, like in terms of my habits and my daily routine, I'll wake up at like 7:30, like that's fairly early. West Coast, or East Coast, it's 10:30, so I get a little behind, but 7:30 is a good time for me. I'm a big believer in sleep. With little sleep, I'm not much, at least for longer than a few hours. After I wake up and stuff like that, I have a team call with my team, just like to kind of, get energy flowing, like talk to people, like have that interaction, sort of wakes you up. And then after that, I basically I wash my face, I have like a face routine. I have like an acne coach. I'm not sure if you can see it, but I have an acne coach. So I go do that. I go grab a coffee and then it's down to work. And so in terms of like my habits for work, I have specific time slots for when I'm doing prospecting, when I'm doing specific selling, and when I'm doing outreach.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's very, very important to block those up, because
Yeah.
as a salesperson and as somebody who is like, selling something or whatever, your life is based off of commission. It's really, really easy to like, you know, think that doing really unproductive shit is actually being productive.
Right.
Right. Like you think, like for example, I'll like go over my DMs or I'll go over what DMs my appointment setters are sending, and I'll look over those, right? And I'll do that, and I think I'm being productive. At the end of the day, that's not making me money. It's just looking over DMs, and like it makes me feel good about myself, right? But at the end of the day, that's not like actual progress, even though
Right.
it may feel like it. So you need to have like specific time slots where it's like, you're doing something that is good. It's not exactly making you money. And then you need to do this that directly makes you money. And then you need to do this to make you money in the future, something like that. Right. So that's like prospecting, like outreach and sales pretty much. So in terms of like my day and how I structure it and how like my habits, I guess you could call them, that's that. Like, I keep it so simple. I'm not like like I said, your cold shower guy or anything like that, man. I just wake up, I got a team call, wash my face, grab my coffee, and I get to work. And besides that, I'm a big believer in sleep. Like I said, like I can't run on 5 hours of sleep. I know some people that do.
Yeah.
I'm useless. If I get 5 hours, I'll crash after like 2 hours. So I like to get at least between 7 and 9, and 7 9 hours of sleep, and then that way I'm productive. So in terms of habits, that's really all I got.
For sure. And what role would you say planning has in all of this? And I mean, do you plan? If so, how do you plan? Do you work off a list? Do you break it down every 30 minutes? Like, what's kind of
Yeah.
your way of going about that?
Planning is huge. I have a whiteboard right here, like right next to me, that I literally team call 8 to 8:30, check DMs, outreach. Like it's categorized by time slots too. 8 to
Mhm.
8:30, 8:30 to 9, 9:15. I take a little break because I mean everybody knows you get Instagram notifications, Twitter notifications. It's tempting, so I have that on my schedule, and I block it all out. That's the most important thing. My business shot into the moon almost when I started planning stuff.
Yeah.
You can kind of wing it at first, especially when you don't have clients, you don't have people you're directly working with. You can kind of just wing it, do things when you feel like it. But once you're managing somebody's like business and you're helping them make more money, you have to plan. You have to. And I'm like, dude, I'm actually reading a book called Fanatical Prospecting. For all you salespeople, go read it. Best prospecting book I think I've ever read in my life. And it is really like it's helping me sort of realize that prospecting is the best thing that you can do,
Yeah.
and you have to go about it a certain way. So I'm doing like multiple blocks in my day of just prospecting and outreach. Like I'm so big on that right now. So you definitely do have to structure your day. You have to plan. You have to. And if you have school, if you have a job, I don't want to hear your excuses as to I can't plan. I had a school, I had a job, I was working every day, double some days. So, and I still fit it in before school, after work. So you have to plan it, even if it's a little at first. And then once you're like getting clients, once you have people that you have to manage and you're working with like a direct side of somebody's business, you're really going to have to double down and structure your day in time blocks, do stuff that moves things forward. Otherwise, you're just going to get caught in a whirl and fail eventually.
So you seem juiced up on prospecting.
Yeah.
I think prospecting is like number one as well. When in Cutco sales, we work off referrals, right?
Yeah.
So I remember being the new rep day one. Like, do people actually refer me? Like, am I just gonna like sell to my family and be done, right? And I sucked at referrals initially. I remember one day. You ever read the book Alexander Had a No Good, Very Bad, Terrible Day? that that was about me this day. And I remember I had 6 appointments lined up, going to people's houses and going into my last appointment. Now keep in mind, I was at like 10, 12K in sales, had like a $300 average order, 70% closing rate. And
You're feeling good.
Yeah, and so I'm going into my last appointment of the day, and I had one trimmer sale, and trimmer being one knife, right? Like a $70 sale, rest or no
Yep.
sales, and I had one recommendation. Like nobody was referring me. I was like, this is the worst thing ever. I went into my last appointment. They gave me two referrals, and the lady gave me two referrals, didn't buy anything, and I literally bought her a $40 peeler just to give me like three more referrals to get me up to five. I was that desperate.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I went later and I called the referrals. The three numbers she gave me were fake numbers. So I
No.
decided right then and right there, I was like, I need to get good at recommendations. Otherwise, I'm not going to be in
Yeah.
business very long, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we can have as many no sales as we want, but that's fine if we can keep filling up our schedule and getting in front of people. So I got really good at recommendations, really good at scheduling a ton of appointments, getting people to refer me to a ton of people. What do you think are the keys for prospecting and kind of what you've been learning and what you have learned growing your agency?
Yeah, I hate saying this because it's so typical. And guys that I don't believe in, guys that are just like utter scams, say it. And I really hate saying it. But keep your pipeline full.
Yeah,
Never, ever, 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 ever let off the gas. Ever.
right.
Because there will be a dark day. I don't care if you're doing 1 million a month. I don't care if you're doing 10 million a month. I don't care if you're doing $1,000 a month. There will be a dark day if you think you're cool. There's going to be a day where a couple clients leave you, right? There's going to be a day where sales are just not going through. You have to keep your pipeline full so that doesn't happen, right? And that's the thing is like for the first 5-6 months of my agency journey and my sales journey, I was so up and down, dude. I chose when I wanted to prospect. When I was feeling good, screw prospecting, dude. Like it's time to just coast and like feel good, ride this wave. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
2 weeks later, I would have a really bad day. I wouldn't close deals. And I always thought it was a closing issue. I always thought it was like dude, I'm just not saying the right like golden phrase, you know? And
yeah.
that wasn't it. It's because I had crappy prospects in my pipeline
Hmm.
because I wasn't doing, anything additional to get more into my pipeline basically. So that was one realization I had is I have to continuously be, have my pipeline full, whether that is for my agency to get more clients on, whether that is for our clients to get calls for those clients. I always need to have pipelines full. And if that's the case, like I'm confident in my selling ability, I'm confident in my team's selling ability. We'll sell it like hotcakes. We just need a full pipeline. It's like that's one thing with my appointment setters. I'm like, you keep us a full pipeline, I'm gonna pay you well. You're gonna be taken care of. I got you. You just that's the one requirement I have in this whole job. Just give us a full pipeline. So, as bland and blunt as that is, that's all I have to say is never let off the gas. Keep that pipeline full. You will thank yourself because you will go through some dark days when there's not as many referrals, right? There's no referrals, and you guys have gone like 0 for 4 on deals closed that day. You're like, the world feels like it's collapsing. You're like, no, like it's happening. Like I'm falling. This sucks. The sky's falling. If you have a full pipeline all the time and you're working every day and contributing to filling that pipeline, you'll never have a day like that. At the very least, you'll have an average day, and an average day is a lot better than a bad day. And so that's like my big thing now is like keeping your pipeline full. And if you keep your pipeline full, a lot of your problems will vanish. And so that would be like my main piece of advice in terms of prospecting there.
Right on, man. Right on. Um, in terms of the dynamics of a sales call, um, just kind of if you had to hit on what are the main things to successfully close a deal, successfully like have a good sales call, good experience, what suggestions would you give to someone starting out?
Yeah. Yeah. So what I sell, it's like you can consider it high ticket. It's like mid ticket if you're comparing it to like a car or something. But for like an online digital product, this shit is high ticket. Like it is expensive. So with that being said, if you cannot get a lot of pain out of a prospect or a lot of hurt out of a prospect, you're not going to close the deal. Straight up. Like I sell 4K offers, I've sold 8K offers. Like you have to get pain out of whatever prospect you are like interviewing on the call with, whatever, or else you're not like gonna sell them. You're not gonna close them. It's just not gonna work. So, I'm not sitting there, I'm not like, well, like your grandma died, like that sucks your grandma died, like buy my course. Like that's not what I'm doing. It's
Right.
more so just asking super open-ended questions getting them to sort of vent to me, if you
Mhm.
will. And once they start venting, I just touch on that. I touch on it and I go over a little bit and I'm like, yeah, like I totally feel you. Listen, I'm so sorry that happened. So sorry. Like nobody deserves to go through that. But now you're in a position to make a move where you can drastically improve that part of your life here. Just stuff like that, right? And I like to, if a prospect has a lot of pain, I have no doubt I'll close them. And I'm not some dickhead that like I said, I'm not going to use your grandma's debt to like close you. But what that does is when you get a prospect to talk about their pain, what pains them, whether it's, living in poverty or living in paycheck to paycheck or their wife left them, what that does is that's like, dang, like my life really sucks. And it subconsciously like programs them to think like, I need to do this. Like I need to do this more and more and more. And the way I like to structure my sales calls is like, I'm not trying to determine if, we're a good fit for you. I'm trying to determine if you're a good fit for us. So that's how I position it. And so they're sort of selling themselves to me. So with that structure of a call, having them sell to us, asking super open-ended questions, I also get some pain out of them. And those people that I can get the pain out of, which is a majority of people, like you'd be really surprised how many like people are just walking the street that are actually sad or like have something going bad in their lives. When you learn that as you hop on more calls. But if you have those two things, like a good call structure, the person selling to you, you get some pain out of them. 9 out of 10 times you're going to close, and especially if they're a qualified prospect. So that's how I like the structure.
I think I mean, that's the main thing because, when somebody is, some people when they get new into sales, myself included, when I was newer,
Yeah.
I thought sales was like all these tricks, all these like different things. But at the end of the day, people buy something to solve a problem, right?
Exactly.
And if you can find out what that problem is and then keep hitting on the problem, like eventually they're going to be like, all right, you're right.
Yeah.
Like I need to solve
Dude,
it.
that's really good that you say that. I listened to a podcast, just a sales podcast, and basically the way he looks at it, the way I look at it is you're like a doctor, right?
Mhm.
And let's say you're the patient and you walk into a doctor, right? And you're like, my elbow hurts. And the doctor's like, oh, well, take this medication. You're gonna be like, well, what the hell? Like you didn't see if it's swollen in certain areas. You didn't, look around, stuff like that. Like how the hell would you know? Right? And then
Yeah.
you're gonna be like you're gonna be kind of sus. You're gonna be like, okay, like does this guy know what he's talking about? I don't think he does. Like I don't
Yeah.
trust him. Blah blah blah. That's not what doctors do. When you walk into a doctor, you say your elbow hurts. They're gonna poke. They're gonna prod. They're gonna ask you what happened. They're gonna ask you how it feels when you go to bed or how it feels when you're showering. Whatever. They're gonna poke. They're gonna feel around until they hit that point where it's like, oh shit. And then you're like, ooh, and they're like, all right, so you have this. Here's a prescription. Here's what you need to do, and go about your way, and that'll fix it, right? I like to think of sales as like I'm the doctor. I'm simply just figuring out what's wrong with the patient, i.e., the prospect, and then prescribing them the solution, which is me or my client's product or my client's services or my service, right? And so I think that's really, really cool that you touched on that because when you put it that way, it makes things simple and it makes you like, it's 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 not like a golden phrase. It's not. There's no golden phrase that's going to help you close deals instantly. It's simply just poking and prodding, getting that pain, and once you do, you're golden if you know how to utilize it and twist things around. So
And the other thing that you've probably thought a lot, put some thought into because you've studied Jordan Belfort.
yeah,
Jordan Belfort, I was studying him the other day, and he talks about, I've heard the definition sales is a transfer of enthusiasm. I like that definition. He talks about sales as a transfer of certainty, and he talks about asking those right questions and everything. But what's most important is he talks about from the start he establishes himself as an expert. Right, what you do, people call you and they're selling themselves to you,
exactly.
which is great. And he positions himself as an expert because I've had it in the past where I've skipped that part of positioning myself
Yeah,
as an expert, and then they don't let you poke and prod because when you position yourself as an expert, people say, okay, now I'm going to let you take control of the conversation by being the one that asks the questions. Belfort
exactly.
talks about like, the doctor, he earned the right to tell me, to bend over because he went to like 8 years of school, whatever. So, do you have any thoughts on that?
What would the question be in terms of that?
The question is, how do you position yourself as an expert
Yeah,
from the start of a sales point?
of course.
And
So
how do
I
you
had to learn that.
recommend
I
other
had to learn.
people do before
Yeah,
they even are an expert?
for sure. So I learned this the hard way. I had to go through some sales calls where people, we got to the very end, I named the price, everything like that. And they're like, well, I don't trust you. I don't know what you've done. I had to learn. And so I had to fit that in. I was like, how can I solve that? So the first thing I do every call is, we shoot the shit. We're talking, we're kind of, we're just cutting BS, like stuff like that, just talking, right? Like your typical small talk on the start of a sales call to break the ice. I do that. And then I go, well, so-and-so, it's awesome to be on the phone with you here today. Honestly, how these calls go, I just want to ask you some questions. I want to see where you're at. And I also want to see where you'd like to be. Now, if my business, my service can get you closer to where you want to be, you and I will move forward today. Well, and the sky's the limit. And if not, we go our separate ways. All is well. No feelings are hurt. Is that cool with you? They're like, yep. I'm like, yep. And I go, okay. Now, before I ask you any questions, I want to take a quick 30, 40 seconds here, simply just to explain who I am, what I've done. That way, you're not talking to some, like chump here on the other side of the phone, or some, unknowledgeable guy here on the other side of the phone, whatever. I like to say chump. I just think it's funny when I say that. They laugh sometimes. Like, so you're not talking to some, or so you're not talking to some chump on the other end of the phone here. Is that cool? They're like, yep. Then from there, I explain basically what I've done, what my agency has done. If it's for a client, like for a call for a client to like close for like, let's say a course or a program, then I'm like, this is what our team has done. This is what like the person I'm selling for has done, that sort of thing. So I eliminate that right off the bat, is like, and I establish myself as an expert right off the bat. That way I'm like respected the rest of the call. I think that's very, very important. And so, I'm able to do that now because I have results. But for somebody who doesn't, I would just say, like, I'm all about honesty in sales. Oh, I think my bulb just blew. I'm all about honesty in sales. I'm not that guy that's going to tell people lie about your results to get a client, right? I hate that. Andy taught me that. I'm very thankful that he did, but never lie. So if you want to, if you're a beginner and you're trying to establish yourself as an expert or somebody who's like deserves respect, then instead of saying like, this is what I've done, this is the results we've generated, you could say, look, I haven't had the opportunity to have my first client yet, but what I have been doing, watching videos endlessly, doing role plays endlessly, and I would kill for an opportunity to work for somebody like you, because I have no doubt in my mind that I can consistently make you money, consistently prove or get proven results for you, and, become somebody that you highly respect and that makes you a lot of money. So, first I'd like to know, is that going to affect the outcome of this call today, whether we move forward or not, or is that going to be okay? And then if they say, yeah, that's going to affect it, sorry, we're looking for more experience, it's like, all right, within the first 3 minutes of the phone call, you determine, you don't have to get to the end of the call to realize that you're not experienced enough to work with them. It's like, you just hop off right there.
Yeah.
But if you are, if that's not a problem, they're like, sure, like, let's hear what you got. Boom. They know that you are a beginner, but you can still go throughout the sales process confidently. You're not lying to them. You're blatantly honest. And if you have to structure some sort of deal where you offer, you charge them a little bit cheaper for a retainer, and maybe heighten the commissions a little bit, whatever it may be, you'll be able to structure a deal like that because they're okay, and you were honest with them up front. And a lot of people will actually respect that. Like, to me, I would respect that. Like, if somebody came to me and was like, listen, I'm just looking for an opportunity, I've been working day in and day out studying and educating myself, like, dude, then let me give you that freaking opportunity. So I mean, that's just personally me as a business owner. But that's how I establish my credibility as come off as an expert, somebody who deserves respect. That's how I'd recommend a beginner come off as somebody of authority and somebody that deserves respect still, even though you don't have experience. And it's a killer way to be honest and get down to that objection really before it comes up.
Yeah, man. And I think that people need to understand that, you can be a beginner with no clients and still have a good value proposition and be honest with someone and have someone who wants to work with you. A few days ago, my first client that I signed for the agency, not my first client overall, right? First, first client that I signed for the agency, he was like, I respect that you're a young hustler. Like, I would rather work with you than some big agency that's going to put us on the back burner,
Exactly.
So for sure, I think that's huge. Is just being honest with people. So we're over an hour into this thing. I've just got a couple more questions for you. This has been a great interview. Again, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
So let's say someone is brand new to the sales world. they bought this, they bought the Salesman's Gold Mine. They've got all these different book notes to learn from. They've got some flashcards to study with. They now have this interview with you, hearing what you're doing. I mean, they've got a ton of resources, but I don't want them to be overwhelmed with, oh my gosh, there's so much I have to read through before I get started. I mean, I think people should get started like today, tomorrow, like as soon as possible. What do you recommend to somebody who's brand new and how they can get started in sales?
Yeah. So look for a job while you're learning sales. Don't like tell yourself that you have to become an expert at sales before you look for a job or you look for a client. Don't do that, because you're never going to feel like it's enough. Like the knowledge you have is enough to go perform in the force. Like you're just not. You can overthink it every time. So I honestly, what I tell my students, send your first message before you even educate yourself on sales. That first message is probably not going to be a close anyway, right? But what it does is it gets your foot in the door. It eliminates that fear. Now you can send messages to other people, and you just broke the ice there. You broke through another barrier, right? So somebody who is overwhelmed by this all, right? And it's like, shoot, where do I start? Look for a job while you're learning sales, and have something that you do every day. Like if you're like, do you teach how to get sales clients? Is that like what you're teaching throughout the program?
No. I mean, it's a part of pretty
Just
much
how to sell,
all the
sell
stuff.
more.
How to sell more, how to get more clients. I mean, it's kind of like a big overview, big picture sort of deal.
Yeah, for sure. So for that example, then, like if somebody's looking to get a sales job, reach out to people that you want to sell for while you're learning sales. Start reaching out to people first, so it lights a fire under your ass to go learn sales a bit faster. Because once somebody is ready to hop on the phone with you, it's game time. Like that's a potential client of yours, and you have to be ready to perform. So start outreach, start learning how to sell at the same time, and that's better. You'd be better off like that, honestly. That's why I'm so thankful. I got a client basically before I ever learned sales ever, so it forced me into that so quickly. I had no choice but to learn it.
Yeah.
Right? No choice but to learn it, and that's why I succeeded. So you kind of have to give yourself that same barrier, that same like, oh shit moment. And once you do, by starting outreach and you're learning sales, it's like, all right, this is real. I can sign a client tomorrow. I got to go. It's go time. And then I think that's a really, really good way to go about it. Whether that's one message a day you're sending, 5 messages a day, 50 messages a day, who cares? Just start before you learn sales, and then start educating yourself on sales more and more as you continue with your outreach. That'd be the way I go if I could restart.
Perfect. Second to last question here. What is your favorite sales book? What's kind of the main thing that it teaches that you like? And then also, if you have another maybe business or just life book that you like, what's your favorite book there, and why do you like that?
My favorite sales book is Sell It Like Sirhan by Ryan Sirhan. He's the top real estate broker in New York City. Have you heard of him?
Yeah, I actually got that book
Yeah.
as a gift a month or so ago.
He's awesome. He's awesome. Like I love him. I've always followed his content. He's a real estate broker. Like he doesn't sell anything that I do, but I love his philosophy on making connections and just like having relationships with people. Shake as many hands as you possibly can. Have genuine, real, like conversations with as many people as you can. Right. That's what that taught me. And so I value any connection that I can make. When I am in a Starbucks line, I'll talk to the guy behind me who, looks like he's confused about the menu, because who knows, dude, maybe that guy is a multi-billion or multi-millionaire and can help you out, or just an average Joe. Who cares? Make that connection anyway, because you never know. So that's like one thing that book taught me there was just like, make connections, I guess, like, go out there, shake as many hands as you can. I think that's very, very important. So I advise anybody to read that. It's like $14 on Amazon, something like that. In terms of life, I mean, I like this book. It's called The Power of Emotions and How to Control Them, basically. And I was one of those people that was really up and down with emotions. I think like partially bipolar, almost to a point where 1 minute I'm so happy, dude. Like I'm so happy. Feels like I'm on top of the world. And for whatever reason, you just sink down to this level where it's like, oh my God, dude, like, what is this? And so that was really transformational for me to learn how to control my emotions, learn how to get into habits and do things when I would feel a certain emotion, to control it rather than just like soak in it. Right. And to always sort of stay like flatline, never too excited, never too down, just right in the middle, and that really, really helped me
just to be able to control my emotions, you know, because there's a lot of anxiety with entrepreneurship. I was really, really anxious the first few months I started with this, just because it was so new. And so that was really big for me, was just learning how to control my emotions, learning how to control all of that. That way I didn't go up, down, diagonal, whatever. It was just, you know, stayed along this line, stayed as close to it as I possibly could. That helped me a lot. And now I've, you know, adopted a lot of those habits and stuff like that. So
And what are a couple of those habits?
literally, this is a good one. So at first, it's going to feel like the end of the world when, you know, if a client's like, hey, closes are a little low this month, you're going to be like, oh my God, oh no, like your heart's going to start beating real fast. You're going to, you know, maybe start hyperventilating. Like you know, it never affected me that much. Like my heart would start beating fast. I'd be like, oh, this is the worst. You get the worst anxiety from it, right? I like to remind myself that you get one life. You get one shot at life. Work is not everything. Sales is not everything. That one client is not everything, right? It is not. And they're human too. They've made mistakes too. They're just giving you a little reminder, right? So when something happens like that, where you get nervous, you get anxious, your heart starts beating a little fast, it's scary. Just literally just sit there and take like 10 to 15 deep breaths and just say, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. If I lose them, I'll do this, right? And then that way it's like you ground yourself and it's like, okay, if I lose them, it won't be the end of the world. I'll just go get another client, you know, and you're not going to lose them. But at the end of the day, you tell yourself that way that's worst case scenario. And that doesn't seem that bad to you. And it brings you back down to the ground. That's one thing that I never used to do. And I would just sit there and overthink and not be able to sleep because like a client would say that to me, or because, you know, just like miscellaneous shit, you know, and I would get really anxious about it. So that's one thing is I've just learned how to manage anxiety and really turn it into something good. You know, just yesterday we were low on closes for the month, dude. So just a lack of lead influx, but some clients don't always get that. That stays between you and I. But let's just say like some clients just don't understand that they're providing no leads to us, and they expect us to close like 100% of the time, and even then the closes would still be low. That sort of thing.
Right.
So yesterday he's like, closes looking a little low for this month. We looking to stay on track for X goal because I set a goal with all my clients at the beginning of the month that I know we can hit. And I'm like, yeah, of course. Old me would have been like, oh shit, dude, this is it. God, I'm so like anxious now. Like I don't know what to do with myself. I'm gonna lay on the floor instead of get work done. Yesterday, I was like, if I lose him, I'm gonna hit up his competitor. Already talked to his competitor. I'll be all right. That's it. That's literally it. And I'm brushing my teeth while this is happening too. So it's like one of those things like I've just learned how to control that. I think that's huge. And anxiety has always been a big thing for me. So that's probably the main thing I learned in that book.
Yeah, I think a couple little things in what you said. First of all, is that everyone's a person, right? It's so easy, especially when you're in sales and you're like you're nervous to do outreach or whatever it is, or even nervous to like walk into someone's house. It's like you think that they're just some crazy like evil person that's going to ruin your life, and like they're a person too. If you connect with them,
Exactly.
all's good. And then the other thing that you mentioned is you mentioned, you know, you could always move on to the next one. I think that salespeople, especially when they're brand new, they get so hung up on, you know, I have sales reps who will be making a wave of a ton of phone calls. And then I'm like, well, what are you doing? Dude's sitting around like on Twitter. He's, I'm waiting for a call back from this person. It's like, dude, there's so many more people to call, and sales is just a numbers game. People overemphasize like the importance of one client and underestimate just what can happen if they just do a ton of calls.
Yeah.
So awesome, man. This has been great. Last question for you. Kind of what are you working on right now? What are you excited about right now? You know, we started the interview with what motivated you to get here to this point. You know, is your motivation the same? And what kind of drives you, and what are you excited about?
Yeah. So motivation is the same day in and day out. I wrote down kind of deep here, but basically I just wrote down a page of what's gone wrong in my life, how I'm going to improve it, what my goals are. I read it pretty much every day. Some days I'll forget, whatever, but I keep that in sight. So that's still what pushes me to this day. In terms of the future, I don't know what the future holds, man. Like, you know, we're doing well right now. Obviously, I plan on scaling up operations. Like, you know, I think first and foremost, I want to hit a 6-figure month profit, like commissions. That's going to take a hell of a lot of work. couple more clients, but I think we can do it here within the next year or so. Like, I think it'd be reasonable. I just got to get a bit more serious, you know, with all this coronavirus stuff going on. We've had a lot of leads come in through, you know, through our clients and stuff like that. Just a lot of leads come in. And so we've been closing a good amount of deals, but now I'm taking it as a sign to scale up a little bit, bring on some more sales guys, bring on a couple more appointment setters, and try to hit a 6-figure profit month. So, you know, we'll see if we can make that happen by the end of the year. That's pretty much my sights now. I'm comfortable enough financially. Like I said, I bought a car the other day. I'm in my old bedroom right now where everything all started, but I have my own apartment and stuff like that. So I'm just back home from the virus and stuff. But so I got everything I need. I'm able to help out my people still, but now it's time to just take that to the next level, make my employees financially free as well. I want to make that happen. That's big to me. And that's that. So
that's sweet, man. Just to wrap it up, I think that there's been a ton of value in this. This shouldn't be a bonus for my for my product. This should be a product, and it should be worth more than what we're charging, I think, for the whole course. Super value packed, ton of great insights. For people who are listening to this and want to get started in what you're doing, with Andy, with Internet U, with Closers University, with that sort of stuff, where can they go to find out more about you?
Follow me on Twitter. I think let me check my username here real quick. I actually forgot it. 2 seconds. Follow me on Twitter. Caden Jara, CADENJARA. Give me a follow, shoot me a DM, ask me whatever questions you got. I'm fairly responsive on there. I mean, I only have 2,700 followers. I'm not a celebrity quite yet. So hit me up with whatever questions you got. Get a sales job, learn some sales. You know, I mean, I started when I was 17. Why can't you start and make some good money from it? You know, at the very least, add a killer side hustle under your tool belt. So, yeah, you can reach me on Twitter if you have any questions. If you need some help with that roadmap and that way of getting to that goal of yours, I'm proud to help with that.
Cool, man. Thank you again for doing this. Thank you guys for watching and investing in the course. I hope you're seeing that you're getting a lot of value for it. And I will see you in the next module or whatever's next here.
Later, man.
Wow, great stuff from the special guest, Mr. Caden Jara. If you enjoyed the video, again, make sure you like it, subscribe to the channel, comment, and share it with everyone you know. We're trying to get to over 50 subscribers. So if you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed yet, do it. It takes less than a second. And then make sure you hit the notification bell. That way you're notified every time I upload a new video. A lot of exciting content prepared in terms of business, entrepreneurship, some politics, some current events as well. So I want to thank Caden again for taking the time out of his schedule to do this interview. He didn't have to do it. He just did it as a favor to me. So Caden, I really appreciate it once again. And if you want to stay up to date with Caden, I have links in the description to some of his products and also to some of his social media accounts. Definitely make sure you keep up with him. He's a really smart guy, really a great guy that you want to get connected with for sure and learn from. So that being said, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.